I'm going to read the question and then just give like a 1.5 to 2 minute response
Okay.
for each one. Okay, do you want to start or?
All right. Whenever you're ready.
Okay, now we'll be fine.
Okay.
Okay, the first question is, do you believe the present ministry of TTI can help the church? And then in what ways? I believe that the ministry of TTI is of incredible benefit to the church really around the world. Uh, Obviously, it is of tremendous benefit to the church in China because we are training their ministers and we are getting out basically the one thing we can contribute to China, which is knowledge of the Word. We really feel that they have more to teach us than we had to teach them, and we feel they have taught us more than we've taught them. And that's been a benefit to our churches here because everywhere I go, I'm speaking of the church in China and speaking of house churches and house church pastors and their level of commitment. So I believe that the house church pastors of China are, in a very real sense, the leaders of the future. And I really believe that China will become, and Asia as a whole will become the leaders of the next generation of the church. And they're teaching us so much about priorities and about what it really means to follow the Lord that I really believe it's benefited not just the church in China, but the church in America. And everywhere we go, we are using the model of the Chinese house churches for churches around the world. All right, the second question is, you've taught our students more than any other in the last 6 years. What changes do you see in our students? And what about the impact upon myself? And I think the main change in the students is that in the early years, we had older students who had ministered for 30, 40 years, and many of whom had only a high school education. Now we're getting younger students. I would say over half of our students are under, let's say, 40, and also much better educated. Most of them are college graduates. Many of them have masters, and a few even have PhDs or are medical doctors. So I think what we're seeing is that the level of the students have increased. But what has always remained the same is their ability to understand the Word of God and their desire to get it deeply. Some people have gone to China and given them, in a very real sense, somewhat shallow material, feeling that they couldn't handle deep teachings. But in actuality, they are deeper than most of us are. All of what they need from us is our knowledge of background issues and of, in a sense, of exegetical issues, the meaning of the text. But they are able to handle the Word of God at such a deep level. But I think that we're seeing more and more young rulers, the leaders of tomorrow, coming. Impact upon me is inestimable. I've heard this from every single person that we've sent to teach there over the last 6 years, that they are so deeply, deeply touched, again, by the level of commitment, by what God is doing through the lives of these men and women who have sacrificed so unbelievably much for the sake of the gospel. And God has used them in such incredible ways. The principle that I really have developed out of this is that the Christians in China have so little and have done so much with it. We here in America have so much and have done so little with it. And so I think that I have been impacted at the deepest core of my spiritual being through these pastors. Okay, third, what can churches and Christians do to help enhance TTI's ministry? And obviously, everyone who talks about this says the same thing. The primary one is prayer. We desperately need prayer. We need support. We need to bring the Lord's power down upon our ministry. Secondly, obviously, we need to be helped financially. We do not charge any of the students for coming, and many of them can't afford to pay their own way, so we pay their way. And we pay the basic costs. And we also obviously are sending teachers from the States, from Britain, and so on. And so I think the primary help is that. Plus, we have a publications ministry that's going to be quite expensive, as we're taking an entire set of commentaries, the Cornerstone commentaries from Tyndale House, and we're translating them to Chinese and are going to publish them in mainland China. We already have the permission to do so. And that's a very expensive point. But this is the first time in the history of the Chinese Communist government that they have allowed commentaries to actually be published. And so we're very excited. But obviously that's an area in which we do need a great deal of help. Finally, to do the history of TTI. And basically, it all began 8 years ago with the vision of Jansen Chan, And Jansen wanted to provide education and wanted to provide scholarship for the house church pastors. And so he first invited Dwayne Elmer, who was a teacher of his at Wheaton, and now is here at Trinity, to come. And then the next year they invited me to go along with them. And that second year, in a sense, God gave us a vision to really make this into a major ministry. Because what had almost never been done before is to send the best scholars over to, say, Africa or China. It's always been like teaching the Bible has been other missionaries and so on, and mission people. But very rarely have the scholars been asked to do it. So what we wanted to do was to provide a seminary education. And we began that. Our first time was actually 7 years ago now. And from the beginning, it was just unbelievable. I mean, the first time, I remember I taught basically hermeneutics, and we asked them. We did 4 days of 7.5 hours a day, and we basically said, what could we do better? And they all said, not enough time. We were amazed. We could never get anybody in the States to go 7.5 hours on anything, let alone 4 days in a row. So the next year we did 5 days at 7.5 hours a day. And we asked them again. They said, still not enough time. Give us more. So now we are sending scholars over, and they're doing 7.5 hours a day for 7 days, and now they're satisfied. But in that entire history, God has just blessed us incredibly. We were 4 years ago. We were forced to leave China because the government came and basically sent everybody home and forced all of the Americans to leave and put red stamps in their passports. So now we are training in Hong Kong, and God is blessing us so greatly. We have 3 times as many people applying as can come. And so we're just so very, very thankful for all that God is doing and for the wonder that we all feel at being part of this incredible ministry. Thank you.